Hi, my name is Daniela Fisher. I'm 32 years old. On the evening it all began, my mother pulled out the fine china. The costly dishes that only appear when she's acting like all is ideal. She arranged them in a neat row like troops, straightened every napkin 2 times, and kept eyeing the staircase as if a wonder might descend. Dad cleared his throat, the signal for every household revelation. He lifted his glass. To Elise he declared with pride, our supporter. Cheers rang out. Even Uncle Drew, who rarely applauds for anything, chimed in. I glanced at my sister, beaming, radiant. The center of a tale I helped finance, and that's when it hit me. This evening I wouldn't remain hushed. From where are you tuning in at this moment? Share in the comments below. Half a year prior to that meal, Elise phoned me from a lot, her tone unsteady yet practiced. Assets are locked. Merely a banking glitch. Could you guarantee for a single month? You realize I'd never allow it to affect you. I agreed, as I always had. Preserve harmony, handle the chaos. Act as if affection and duty were identical. Come the second month, notifications of payments flooded my email. By the fourth, the sum sprouted an extra layer. Overdue charges, rates, fines, all the while Elise's social pages were a montage of glamour. Dawn exercises, terrace meals, legends about constructing something grand. I forwarded her a pair of messages with figures. She responded with a love symbol and "you're a saint." Then yet another getaway image surfaced, this one from Qley. At the office, my colleagues chuckled over sibling conflicts. They had no idea my financial rating was draining away in secret. Each invoice I settled purchased her further acclaim. Each quiet I maintained kept her shining. Dad once noted, there are achievers and there are speakers. He dubbed her the achiever. I suppose that positioned me as the lender. Mom labeled her bold, I labeled her sponsored. And the harshest truth, they weren't celebrating her triumphs. They were celebrating how effectively I vanished in its shadow. They lauded her victories, erected on my quietude. The supper carried sense of citrus cleaner and command. The surface sparkled. Flames danced. Dad hoisted his glass once more. To Elise, our gift, our supporter. The space resounded with applause. Even Mom appeared misty-eyed, as if viewing a champion's address. I held my glass to my mouth, the edge chilly against my enamel. Then the phrase escaped. Flawless, I uttered. So she can manage the $200 I've covered for her. Utensils halted. Even the timepiece on the partition appeared to pause its rhythm. Mom fluttered her eyelids. Danny, dear, not during the meal. Elise chuckled, a wobbly noise that faded halfway. What's this about? I delved into my purse and placed a sturdy packet on the surface. Detailed records, captures from screens, timelines, sums, the noise it produced, gentle yet conclusive. You deem her the supporter, I stated. She supplied me with obligations. Uncle Drew bent nearer to scan. Aunt Nora gazed as if the digits were puzzles. Dad's chin tightened, the vessel in his forehead pulsing. Elise blanched. You could have messaged me beforehand. I did. On 2 occasions I replied. You ignored me and jetted to Qley. Mom's tone quivered. We'll discuss this in confidence. No, I responded steadily. You broadcast it when you saluted her. Quietness expanded like haze across fine ware and fabric. Even the flames appeared dimmer. I could detect the heater falter. Dad rose, tone subdued. Sufficient, we avoid surprising kin. I met his gaze directly. You saluted a falsehood. I delivered the evidence. For an instant I nearly expressed regret. Familiar impulse. Sustain harmony, remain diminutive, shoulder the burden. But that iteration of myself was gone. I rose, my seat murmured against the ground. Where to? Dad inquired. To my place, I answered. I gestured toward the packet. Your supporter understands the starting point. I departed. Went by images of Elise at dances and ceremonies, the favored offspring beaming from every frame. Beyond the threshold, the breeze was crisp and straightforward. I inhaled it like a remedy. On the veranda, I composed my fingers and monitored my heartbeat. They'd label me harsh. I'd label it resolution. Regardless, the figures aligned at last. That evening, I reviewed each sheet once more. I duplicated documents into a fresh directory titled Favored Offspring. I rested with my device screen averted for the first time. 3 days on, Dad messaged. We must converse, 6 p.m. precisely. I recognized that implication, restoration of order. I arrived regardless, not to atone but to conclude the narrative. They extended reconciliation previously. I spotted compensation masked as reconciliation. They extended reconciliation. I spotted compensation. Leave a note 1 if you've held your tongue merely to sustain harmony. Leave a note 2 if you ultimately refused and sensed liberation for the first time. 4 days post that supper, the quietude at last fractured. At 5:47 p.m., a message dropped into my queue. Header, hello. I believe your sibling deceived me. I stiffened at my workstation. The dispatcher's identity was Tara Hallbrook, an unfamiliar figure with documentation. She stated, I located you via a marked kin image. I suspect your sibling Elise swindled me and a pair of others. Might we discuss? My torso chilled. Intrigue and alarm pulse identically. I answered what occurred. In moments, a collective repository emerged. Screen grabs, message chains, bills, a fabricated venture, a fabricated purpose. Genuine females burdened with debts and hush. Elise had initiated an entity named She Ascend, a female uplift network. She vowed guidance, backers, and initial capital phases. She enlisted 3 creators and a promotion apprentice. She requested they advance journey and identity costs. Then abruptly, their collaboration space evaporated. The correspondences rebounded. Elise obstructed every contact. Tara had combed past visuals for hints and discovered my identity. That's how she contacted me. That's how reality arrived at my threshold. I examined the materials until my vision stung. My parents had recently saluted her endurance. She was orchestrating frauds disguised as aid for females. I answered, forward it all. She complied, every bit. 3 days onward, my mother rapped at my entrance. Her color was blurred. Her tone wavered. Danny, your sibling has vanished. 2 days elapsed. Did you utter something? Did you broadcast anything? Not did she injure anyone, but did you reveal her? It struck deeply. They weren't furious, she deceived. They were furious I ceased shielding her. Mom, individuals are already murmuring, I stated. She pilfered from fellow females. Mom clasped her palms and pleaded, kindly avoid publicizing it. You'll demolish her existence. I nearly chuckled. She demolished it. I'm tidying the debris. She recoiled. She attempted once more. She's your sibling. I locked eyes with her. And I'm your child. You permitted me to settle her debts. She pivoted and departed sans response. The corridor carried aromas of sealant and apprehension. 2 days hence, a web entry surfaced online. No identities, merely a stark title. The initiator who fabricated uplift. The account aligned with Tara's materials precisely. I hadn't published it, and I hadn't halted it. Reality requires no consent. It requires air and space to expand. By midday, individuals were circulating the entry broadly. Discussion boards ignited with inquiries and screen captures. A label began to accumulate momentum. My device vibrated ceaselessly with unidentified lines and restricted rings. A regional venture board affixed the discussion prominently. An individual added a softened image of a rental on a platform. Another shared unsettled bills with timelines and figures. The sequence was undeniable. Within, attention eased. I was no longer the resolver. I was the observer. Reality seeks no consent. The tempest didn't erupt instantaneously. It progressed like inclement conditions. Gradual, subdued, inexorable. By the subsequent dawn, the entry had extended past regional groups, professional networks, community boards, even an audio show alluding to a female initiator controversy. Each entry amplified the prior until Elise's identity wasn't murmured any longer. It was surging. I hadn't uttered a syllable, but I hadn't averted my gaze either. At 6 p.m., a rap sounded at my entrance. Upon opening, Evan appeared, Elise's former partner. He appeared devastated, sclera inflamed. A dull sweatshirt gripped in his grasp. She abandoned this at my location, he murmured softly. You'll desire to view it. He passed me a compact portable storage unit. What's within? I queried. He offered a faint, weary grin, evidence. As he departed, I connected it. 49 directories materialized, each titled akin to business records. Bills, audio clips, interim advances. Within that final one rested a table named Borrowing, Do Not Distribute, identities, figures, annotations. Each row represented an individual Elise had obtained funds from. Kin, acquaintances, colleagues, even a transport operator. Beneath annotations, she'd inscribed items like retains confidence, recirculates subsequently. Then I spotted my own identity. Danny, 9200, settled, safeguard, my gut twisted, deeper in. Mom, $5,000 plus dusk and persistent shielding. It extended beyond me. Mom had been discreetly reimbursing her, erasing her damage, sustaining her legend, all while imploring me to remain muted. I reclined in my seat, pulse racing. This wasn't kinship. It was a safeguarding scheme founded on remorse. The following dawn, an individual disseminated the storage to the web. Not me, not Tara, an entity from a technology board. The header declared the favored offspring documents, screenshots, audio records, and the full borrowing table, all accessible. By midday, it proliferated rapidly. Her identity, her deceptions, our background, exposed broadly. A firm even issued a declaration. We have withdrawn our proposal to Miss Fisher. We align with those impacted. Mom rang again, weeping. She returned. She appears shattered. She's fearful. Of you? That halted me. Of me? You've amplified this, she declared. You always do. I nearly chuckled. No, Mom, I didn't amplify it. I merely ceased erasing it. Please, she murmured. Remove it entirely. I cannot, I replied, and even should I be able, it's beyond remedy. The web retains memory. Her quietude conveyed all. That evening I initiated a fresh directory on my machine, the favored revelation, conclusive. As it transferred, I murmured to myself. She constructed her realm from falsehoods, and we termed it affection. The indicator hit full, and for the initial occasion I sensed no remorse. I sensed emancipation. The piece launched at 9 a.m. exactly. Header, the favored offspring, kin muteness, a sibling's deceptions, and the toll we bore, it bore no veil, it bore no partial facts. It was my identity, my account, and my evidence. In 60 minutes it disseminated like flames. 70,000 circulations, scores of remarks, reporters seeking dialogues I would decline. I hadn't composed it for proliferation. I composed it lest the reality perish in sketches. At 7 p.m., a dispatch came from my parents. Header, kin concerns. We are profoundly wounded by your choice to publicize confidential matters. For the present, it's optimal we cease all interaction. Kindly honor our requests. No remorse, no accountability, just another effort to dictate muteness. I perused it doubly, then stored it away. Certain dialogues conclude more effectively, sans retort. That evening I perched on my terrace enveloped in a cover. Beneath, the metropolis respired, illuminations pulsing like a vital sign. For years I'd trusted muteness preserved me. That diminishing was endurance, but muteness fails to rescue. It depletes you. They termed it disloyalty, I termed it liberation. When individuals queried my sentiments, I conveyed the reality. Tranquility doesn't emerge with ovations. It arrives subtly. One dawn, you awaken and comprehend. You require no endorsement to persist in existence. A month onward, Elise's account receded from prominence. The kin discussion thread remained vacant. Festive periods arrived and passed sans a lone summons, and curiously it lacked sting. It felt purified. Like the atmosphere post-tempest. One midday, Tara dispatched an image of her fresh workspace credential. She ascend overcomers. Presently flourishing, she inscribed. Beneath, a brief annotation. You transformed our disgrace into validation. I regarded the dispatch until my gullet constricted. Then I grinned. Perhaps certain conclusions yield utility. I proceeded to my pain. Beyond, the heavens were overcast. But it lacked weightiness any longer, just candid. If you've ever been the individual who ultimately voiced out, I acknowledge you. And if you're yet assembling resolve, proceed unhurried. Reality endures. But muteness invariably extracts more than it bestows. Thanks for tuning into Echoes of Life. Narratives that linger. Remember to endorse, circulate, and join, so additional voices akin to Daniela's may resound.